Mr. Chairman, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Angela Frimberger.
Okay, thank you.
Good day. Thank you for taking my question. I'm with Bushfire Survivors for Climate Action. In your 2024 climate report, Westpac's analysis concluded that under our best case warming scenario, RCP 2.6, 4.1% of Westpac's Australian mortgage portfolio would be exposed to higher risks from the impact of climate change. Westpac's Australian mortgage portfolio represents about 62% of its total loan book. That's about $20.6 billion of Westpac's loan book at higher risk from climate change. That might not be a lot to a big bank like Westpac, but for most Australians, a house is the biggest purchase they'll ever make. A house is so much more than just a place to live. For most Australians, it's fundamental to the aspirations of them and their families. That $20.6 billion represents a lot of everyday Australians whose homes might be lost due to climate disasters. I should know. My own home was threatened by bushfire in November 2019. My family and I live on a bush block outside of Port Macquarie, adjacent to the Lake Innes Nature Reserve. Outside of our living area and asset protection zones, we maintain wildlife habitat on the property. Early in Black Summer, the Crestwood fire jumped the lake and landed on the edge of our property. We spent the following weeks fighting fire around the property daily, but it was managed. But then everything changed when the fire conditions changed from severe to extreme. Then the fire raged up the hill and threatened our home, coming within meters of the house and forcing us to escape to a neighbor's. This change in conditions is exactly what we can expect more of with climate change, much more aggressive fires. Fortunately, emergency crews were able to save our house, but many were not so lucky. And many of our Bushfire Survivors for Climate Action members are among those people who've lost everything, people whose stories paint a picture of being personally harmed by climate change, people who know from lived experience that climate change is not a future problem. It's already hurting everyday Australians now. Westpac says it's working hard to support its customers with the immediate short-term effects of climate disasters. Surely that should involve doing everything Westpac can to not make climate change worse. Then why, despite the climate change position statement and action plan, does Westpac continue to support companies pursuing fossil fuel expansion plans when it knows what the impacts of those plans will be? With respect, transition takes time, but pointing to transition plans and ambitions while at the same time funding expansion does seem inconsistent. Why are those companies that have no interest in transitioning and preserving a safe climate prioritized over those customers who just want to live safely and securely in their own homes?
Thank you very much for your question. I do understand where you're coming from. I've also grown up in the country and I'm familiar with the issues that you face, so I'm not unaware of that. I believe we've probably covered most of what you were referring to already. And on the transition plans, we are working, and this year we've worked with 150 of them to come up with plans which they are going to transition away from this to solve the issues we're talking about. And in this year alone, we've 11% of our exposures are down to almost less than 0.5% of our total portfolio. This year alone, 87% of all our funding on electricity generation is going to renewables. Our upstream oil and gas financed emissions are down 45% in the last 3.5 years. We're a big bank. We're making huge efforts here. I understand where you're coming from, but I do believe we're making a big difference here. And we will continue doing so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your progress that was reported in the climate report. That's very good progress. Given that climate change is already hurting everyday Australians now, should we rest on those laurels? Should we take the opportunity to perhaps do more and pull back from funding the expansion of fossil fuels?
Well, we are doing more. This is a continually evolving situation and we are doing a lot more. So we understand where you're coming from.
Thank you.
Thank you.